In the heart of the wild frontier, nestled between rugged mountains and endless plains, lay the dusty town of Redemption. The sun beat down relentlessly, casting long shadows that danced along the cracked dirt streets. Here, lawlessness reigned. Outlaws roamed freely, and gunfights often erupted over trivial disputes. Yet amid this chaos stood a symbol of hope and order, the church. Its tall steeple pierced the sky, a beacon for weary souls seeking refuge from the harsh realities of life. The townsfolk looked to the church for guidance, clinging to their faith as a lifeline. However, the clergy wielded their power with an iron fist, demanding strict adherence to their teachings. This created a constant tension between survival and devotion. Many whispered about the bishop's heavy hand. He dictated rules that felt more like chains than blessings. Rumors spread of his harsh judgments on those who strayed from the path, particularly regarding purity and morality. As Sister Mary walked through the town square, her heart sank at the sight of people casting furtive glances in her direction. Pregnant and unwed, she felt the weight of their judgment like a stone upon her chest. Yet she believed deeply in her mission, to provide care and comfort to those in need. Little did she know that the powerful forces of both church and lawlessness were about to collide, setting off a chain reaction that would change her life forever. Sister Mary had always been a devoted servant of God, drawn to the calling of the convent from a young age. Raised in a small village far from Redemption, she had learned the values of compassion and kindness, believing that every act of love brought her closer to the divine. She dedicated her life to helping those in need, tending to the sick and providing comfort to the lonely. Her gentle spirit made her a favorite among the townsfolk. Yet now, that very spirit was tested. The heavy burden she carried was more than just the life growing within her. It was a secret that threatened to unravel everything she had worked for. In a moment of weakness, she had fallen victim to temptation, an entanglement that had set her on this unexpected path. She often found herself praying in solitude, seeking forgiveness while grappling with shame about being pregnant and unmarried in a world that judged harshly. Despite her struggles, Sister Mary's faith remained unshaken. She believed deeply in her mission, reminding herself that God's love was boundless. With each passing day, she felt the weight of her secret grow heavier, but it also ignited a fierce determination within her. As she wandered through Redemption, she resolved to stand strong against the gossip and scorn. Little did she know that her courageous heart would soon be tested in ways she could never have imagined, drawing both danger and unexpected allies into her life. The tension in Redemption escalated as news of Sister Mary's pregnancy spread like wildfire. The bishop, a stern man known for his rigid adherence to church doctrine, received word of the scandal and felt the weight of it pressing down on the convent's reputation. For him, an unwed mother within the walls of the church was not just a personal failing. It was a threat to the very fabric of faith that held the town together. Concerned about how this would reflect on his leadership, he decided that swift action was necessary. Determined to protect his image, the bishop summoned 6 agents from the Pinkerton National Detective Agency, known for their relentless pursuit and fearsome reputation. He ordered them to retrieve what he called the Unborn Tithe, claiming it was a rightful offering for the church from this child conceived in sin. To him, it was a way to assert authority and demonstrate that no one could escape the church's grasp, even in moments of weakness. As the agents prepared to ride into Redemption, they were armed not just with weapons but with a mission steeped in dogma and judgment. The bishop believed that recovering this tithe would restore order and reinforce his control over the townsfolk. Little did he know that by sending these men after Sister Mary, he was igniting a conflict that would challenge both his power and her spirit in ways he could never have anticipated. The sun hung high in the sky when the sound of thundering hooves echoed through the dusty streets of Redemption. 6 Pinkerton agents, clad in dark coats and wide-brimmed hats, rode into town with an air of authority that demanded attention. Their horses kicked up clouds of dust, and the townsfolk paused in their daily activities, eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and fear. Everyone knew who they were and why they had come. As the agents dismounted, their boots thudded heavily against the ground, adding to the weight of their presence. The leader, A tall man with a chiseled jaw and piercing eyes surveyed the square, his gaze piercing through the crowd. Murmurs spread among the onlookers. Whispers of Sister Mary's predicament traveled quickly, and many felt a chill run down their spines as they realized the nature of the Pinkertons' mission. With confidence and purpose, the agents gathered in front of the church, their demeanor radiating intimidation. They were known for their relentless pursuit of justice, or whatever they deemed justice, and the townsfolk knew that defiance could lead to harsh consequences. As the leader stepped forward and knocked on the church door, anticipation hung thick in the air. The agents were there to enforce the bishop's orders, and no one could predict how far they were willing to go to retrieve what they believed was owed to the church. The fate of Sister Mary and her unborn child felt more precarious than ever. As Sister Mary stood in the church, she felt the weight of the Pinkertons' arrival settle over her like a dark cloud. The sound of their boots thudding against the wooden floor echoed in her mind, mingling with the anxiety twisting in her stomach. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself, but her heart raced as she considered the consequences of their mission. This was not just about her. It was about the life growing within her, a life she vowed to protect at all costs. Determined not to let fear consume her, Sister Mary squared her shoulders and clenched her fists. She remembered her vows and the belief that God had chosen her for this moment, however daunting it felt. With each passing second, anger began to replace her fear. How dare they come here, demanding a tithe for an unborn child? They did not understand the love and hope she felt for this baby, nor the sacrifices she had made. As she moved toward the door, thoughts of fleeing crossed her mind, but she quickly dismissed them. Running would only confirm their power over her. Instead, she resolved to stand firm, ready to confront whatever came next. Outside, whispers filled the air as townsfolk gathered, watching with anxious eyes. Sister Mary knew she must be their voice as well as her own. Gathering courage, she opened the door wide and stepped into the light, ready to face the challenge head-on and defend both herself and her unborn child from any threat that approached. As Sister Mary stood firm at the entrance of the church, her heart pounded with a mix of fear and resolve. Just then, a figure emerged from the dust clouds of the approaching Pinkertons. He was a gunslinger, tall and lean, with a weathered hat casting a shadow over his face. His long coat flowed behind him as he walked, and the townsfolk could see the glint of a revolver holstered at his hip. Whispers filled the air. Stories of his sharpshooting skills and enigmatic past had circulated through the saloon and the streets like wildfire. The gunslinger paused, taking in the tense scene before him. His keen eyes fell on Sister Mary, standing resolutely against the backdrop of the church, and he sensed her fierce determination. Without hesitation, he stepped forward, making his way through the gathered crowd who parted in awe. "I hear trouble's brewing," he said, his voice steady yet low, like the calm before a storm. "You don't have to face this alone." Sister Mary regarded him skeptically but felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. "I cannot allow violence," she replied softly, yet she could sense that this man meant to help. The gunslinger nodded knowingly, understanding her struggle between faith and survival. "Sometimes," he said, "it takes strength to protect what you love." With that, he offered her his support, pledging to stand by her side against the impending threat of the Pinkertons, ready to defend not just her life but the life she carried within her. As Sister Mary and the gunslinger retreated to the church's sanctuary, the tension in the air thickened, heavy with the stakes of their unfolding plan. Despite the looming threat of the Pinkertons, a sense of determination pulsed between them. The gunslinger glanced out the window, scanning the street for signs of their adversaries. "We don't have much time," he said, his tone firm yet calm. Sister Mary paced the wooden floor, her thoughts racing. "We need to protect the townsfolk too. If they find out we're planning something, they could retaliate," she replied, her mind balancing fear and hope. As a nun, she was taught nonviolence, but as a soon-to-be mother, her priorities shifted with fierce clarity. The gunslinger approached her, his gaze steady. "We can create a diversion," he suggested, his voice low and strategic. "While I draw their attention, You can lead the townsfolk to safety. We'll set a trap for them. The idea sent shivers down Sister Mary's spine. Was this what it would take to protect her child? She nodded slowly, swallowing hard as a mix of dread and conviction filled her heart. They leaned in closer, voices hushed as they meticulously devised their plan, blending faith and courage with practical tactics. Sister Mary felt a surge of camaraderie with this man. Their bond had formed rapidly in the crucible of crisis. United by purpose, they prepared to face whatever awaited them outside the church doors, their resolve fortifying against the impending confrontation with the relentless Pinkertons. The air was charged with anticipation as Sister Mary and the gunslinger stepped out of the church, facing the 6 Pinkerton agents standing tall and menacing in the town square. The sunlight glinted off their weapons, and the townsfolk held their breath, caught between fear and hope. The gunslinger positioned himself slightly in front of Sister Mary, his hands resting on his holstered revolver. "You'll have to go through me first," he declared, his voice steady, echoing across the tense silence. Sister Mary felt her heart race, not just from fear but from a profound sense of purpose. She placed a hand on her belly, seeking strength from the life within her. The leader of the Pinkertons stepped forward, arrogance twisting his features. "We're here for the child," he sneered. "Step aside, or you'll regret it." But Sister Mary found her voice, bolstered by the support of the gunslinger beside her. "This child is not a possession to be claimed," she shouted. "It is a life, filled with hope." With that, all at once, the standoff erupted into chaos. The gunslinger moved swiftly, drawing his weapon with expert precision, while Sister Mary stood firm, fearlessly calling upon the townsfolk to rise with her in defiance. Shots rang out, punctuated by shouts and cries of determination mixed with prayers. Caught in that fierce moment of action and heart, Sister Mary felt both the weight of her faith and the thrill of fighting for her future. She stood tall against the encroaching darkness, ready to protect her unborn child at any cost. Together with the gunslinger, they faced down not just the Pinkertons but any challenge that threatened their resolve and hopes for a brighter tomorrow. The chaos of gunfire and shouts echoed through the square as Sister Mary stood her ground, her heart pounding with fear yet filled with a fierce determination. She could see the Pinkerton agents advancing, their faces twisted with arrogance. At that moment, she understood that this confrontation was about more than just her. It was about defying a system that sought to control and oppress. With a surge of courage, Sister Mary raised her voice above the clamor. "This child is a gift, not a possession to be taken." Her conviction cut through the noise, momentarily halting the agent's advance. The townsfolk rallied behind her, emboldened by her words. They were no longer just witnesses but defenders of their beliefs. Suddenly, the gunslinger moved forward, his sharp eyes locked onto the leader of the Pinkertons. As he drew his weapon, the tension escalated, and for a brief moment, it seemed as though violence was inevitable. But then, in a surprising twist, Sister Mary stepped between them. "Wait!" she shouted. "We don't need more bloodshed. Let's speak as humans first." The gunslinger's arm faltered, and the agents hesitated, confusion flickering across their faces. Her unexpected plea for understanding caught them off guard. It was then that Sister Mary revealed the truth behind her pregnancy. Not shameful sin, but love born from an act of kindness during a moment of vulnerability. In that instant, something shifted within the hearts of all involved. The Pinkerton leader lowered his weapon slightly, perhaps recognizing the humanity in her story. With that act of bravery and honesty, Sister Mary not only stood firm in her beliefs but also opened a path toward resolution, one where compassion could replace conflict and change the course of their lives forever. As the dust settled in redemption, Sister Mary found herself reflecting deeply on her journey. The confrontation with the Pinkerton agents had been a turning point, not just for her but for the entire town. She had stood firm, embraced her strength, and learned that fighting for her beliefs was as important as nurturing the life growing within her. The experience taught her that courage could manifest in many forms, sometimes as a shield against oppression, and other times as a call for understanding. In the quiet moments after the storm of chaos, Sister Mary pondered the lessons she had learned about motherhood and faith. She realized that becoming a mother was not merely about bearing a child. It was about instilling values of love, compassion, and resilience. The bonds she formed with the gunslinger and the townsfolk had shown her that community support could be a powerful force in facing adversity. Sister Mary understood now that the world was often unforgiving, but through unity and unwavering belief in what they were protecting, they could create a haven for hope. With renewed resolve, she felt prepared to embrace her role as both a nun and a mother, ready to champion the rights of those who felt powerless. As she looked out over redemption, she vowed to continue nurturing both her child and her community, proving that even in the harshest of worlds, faith and love could prevail against all odds.